guys. Welcome to Tinfoil Hat live from the WiseWolf Gold and Silver Studios. That's right. Wolfpack Gold. Just go to samtripoli.gold. Use the promo code Tinfoil, and you too can get in on the Precious Metals game for as little as $50 a month, sent right to your house. Very excited to have our next guest on, returning champion. Every episode, we just learn so much, and it's just like I use stuff I learned from you all the time in arguments. I love it all. Very excited to have him back. Please welcome the powerful Dr. Narco Longo. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, guys. Good to see you. Happy to be back.
Now, you got in a fight with a good friend of mine. I couldn't believe I saw two people that I love going at it. You and the paranoid American. What are we doing here? You guys are both great people.
Oh, man. I mean, that was a while back, and what do you want me to say? I mean, I'm not really fond of him.
Okay. So. We love him over here. I'm doing a comic book with him. Anyways, didn't mean to open up with that. That just popped in my head. Very excited to have you back. We love your episodes. It's great. One more time, or can you please tell us again, for our listeners who may not be familiar with your last couple appearances, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where our listeners can find you?
Sure. I go by Dr. Longo on YouTube, and I run the Old World Florida channel. My real name's Connor, so it's not hidden or anything. It's just kind of a, YouTube username. But Old World Florida is all about the hidden history of Florida and Florida conspiracy theories. You name it. Everything from Epstein to like haunted locations and Atlantis, the Garden of Eden.
Do you have a website? Do you have anything, or is it's YouTube, Old World Florida, anywhere else?
Old World Florida on YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, Twitter, Old World FL, and no website for now.
All right, respect. Love when you come on the show. I was really excited to see you blowing up with the Jake Shields interview. You broke down how the apartment building of what's his face? What's the billionaire that died that we had on the show? You remember with his black hooker? McAfee, yeah.
John McAfee.
Yeah, blew up his apartment. A lot of people think there was something crazy in there. And then the IDF came over and took over, and it's just like, man, how captured are we, dude?
But they don't operate
in America. Yeah, Mossad doesn't, but the IDF does. Like, absolutely insanity, dude. But I was really happy to see that. I'm sure you're just crushing it right now. Where do you want to begin, dude?
Man, anywhere you guys want, but I think you said Columbus being Jewish sounds interesting, and I'm always down to tackle that topic.
Let's get into that. I mean, it kind of starts with like timelines here, right? Like, I know the last time you were on here, you really broke down the timeline. I'm a Sicilian, which means I'm part Moor. I talk a lot about the Moors being here. That was a great episode. You broke down that whole thing. Like, how old do you think civilization is in Florida, do you think? Like, because we have this idea that it's super primitive in the 1800s, and then it started, or 1700s. But, based on timelines you told me, it's been active for a very long time.
Totally. So, yeah, forget Columbus. I mean, we can go back 10,000 years.
No, I want to get into that. I just want to, set the stage for it.
Yeah, exactly. Just going off what the mainstream archaeologists are writing about today, if anyone's ever partied in downtown Miami, they may have heard of Brickell. Downtown Brickell. Brickell's where most of the happening clubs are. And, so Brickell, that area, there's a famous archaeological site called the Miami Circle. Now, the Miami Circle, they say, is only 3,000 years old, but it's part of a complex that's right there in the heart of downtown Miami that today they're saying is over 8,000 years old. There was a city, if you will. It was Miami was on the map 8,000 years ago.
Whoa!
And many of the biggest cities in Europe they didn't even have huts on them back then. So that's that's what the mainstream archaeologists are working with today. Now, if we want to go a little farther back, in Florida, we have some of the oldest human burials ever found in the Western Hemisphere. So there's the bog bodies in Windover, the Windover site, which is near Titusville, Florida. They pulled up a couple dozen, maybe over 50 or so bodies that were so well preserved, they thought they found a serial killer's dumping ground because they still had brains, eyeballs, pieces of clothing. And then they started kind of, dissecting them, and they said, wow, these are prehistoric people. This is over 10,000 years old.
Oh, really?
Yep. Then there's a place on the west coast of Florida. So now we're going to the other coast, where Ponce de Leon, the conquistador, went looking for the Fountain of Youth.
Yep.
He was killed not far from this warm water spring. So most of the springs in Florida are cold. There's one really warm one that's shaped like a nice round donut almost, and that spring it's 200 feet deep or so. It's a sinkhole, and thousands of Europeans have moved to this city called Warm Mineral Springs. It's like a generic name. They've moved there today because they think it's the Fountain of Youth. So if you go there today, there's hundreds and hundreds of Ukrainians, Russians, Poles. They've moved there because they really believe it's Fountain of Youth. But why that place is also special, the archaeologists love it because everything that falls into that spring is preserved almost forever. So they have actually found the oldest intact brain from a Indian or someone an ancient American, over 10,000 years old. Now
What?
people say, yep.
Who throws out a brain?
Well, it was actually a ceremonial burial place for the Florida Indians. People can look this up. Warm Mineral Springs.
Sounds
And there's
like
a video.
moving to.
They actually found that skull on video, and you can see the guy. He didn't know what he found, and believe it or not, pardon my French, he stuck his finger in it in the skull, and actually poked the brain on camera. And this was in the 50s or 60s, and so going off stuff like that, there's been people in Florida for 10,000 years. It was findings in Florida that made the Smithsonian rewrite the timeline for how long humans have been in the Americas, because they kept trying to say, oh, they've only been here for 6,000 years. But places like the two I just named clearly push that back more than 10,000. Now, how can we trust these timelines? Well, it has to do with sea level rise. So people can, be skeptical if they want about when things actually happen in history. But as long as the sea level has came up and down, those bodies were buried there, because we know in the one cave, Warm Mineral Springs, there's I don't know if I'm saying this right, the stalactites, or one of the two. I know there's two types. That basically there's a huge stalactite that dripped down, and today it's underwater. So what does that show us? The stalactite was there in front of the burial before the sea level went up 6,000, 10,000 years ago, somewhere between there. And then the stalactite formed after that. So that gives us kind of a tangible way of measuring how long that burial was there. But, outside of what the mainstream archaeologists are telling us, the last couple of times I went on your show, we talked about Atlantis, we talked about maybe the Garden of Eden a little bit, and I think people have been in Florida since the beginning of time, if I really had to say. So
Yeah, I bring up your research all the time. Again, I talk about the Moors. A lot of the slaves weren't shipped over here. They were actually already here. Your discussion, which is your belief, which a lot of people will find shocking. But, I've learned that, anything's possible. And, I trust your research. And about Islam started in Mexico, right? Or like,
Well,
have you rethought that?
well, not rethought it, but I'm not saying Islam started in Mexico. But let's start off with uh, the. Let's frame it like this, okay? I'll ask some questions to give it some more context. What do the mainstream archaeologists and paleontologists say killed the dinosaurs? It was a
Giant
you know,
asteroid.
asteroid that landed where?
In the
Mexico.
Yucatan. Yeah, something like that.
Yep.
Whoa, congrats,
Bingo.
dude.
Yeah.
So the dinosaur people are telling us that's what killed all the dinosaurs. Now, what is it in the cube that these Muslims are worshiping? Many people think it is a meteorite.
Whoa,
So-
you're right.
Yeah. And as far as Islam in America, we talked about the Moors maybe escaping from the Spanish and such around 1492 or before that. But something else we could get into is Mormonism, right? So just there in the name, there's an odd link between Mormon and Moors.
Whoa,
So,
that's
one-
crazy.
Have you ever heard someone say that the Mormons are like the Muslims of America?
No, I used to say that Mormonism and Scientology were like the UPN and the CW of television of religions, right? They're there, but they're not as big as the other ones. They usually crush us, not in this room. But, yeah,
Well,
dude.
Heard it before.
Well, basically, there's so many parallels between not only Joseph Smith and Muhammad, but also Mormonism and how it spread through America and Islam. So, right off the bat, there's the obvious links. There's the polygamy, right? Or the polygyny with an N,
Let's
with
go, bro.
multiple wives, right?
Let's go, bro.
That's a big link, an obvious one, and an easy one, right? Well, what are some other links? Both Joseph Smith and Muhammad wondered. Well, they had visions. They had supernatural experiences. Both of them suspected that they may have been demonic visions, or a dark force kind of overcame them. And it took time for them to test and trust and kind of convince themselves or be convinced that these were actually, God or the Holy Spirit or angels speaking to them. So there was that skepticism that they both have in common. They both relied heavily on the women in their life. Muhammad had almost like a sugar mama who was a wife that was a lot older than him and wealthier than him, who, funded a lot of his endeavors. And Joseph Smith didn't have exactly that scenario. His main wife, his bottom bitch, if you will, was kind of adequately aged, and they didn't have that in common. But as far as how many wives, and the fact that they would both confide in their wives their visions and say, I think this is this from the devil? Is this from an angel? And both of their wives would often reassure them and would be their number one cheerleader. There's also the obvious fact that they're both kind of, or they ended up as desert religions, right? And they're almost like warrior clans, warrior religions. People forget that the Mormons had wars with the citizens of America and even the American military at some points. And so what else? What else do they have?
It's
What else do
interesting
they have in
because,
common?
like, it's very weird how Mormonism started, and they're like, we want to be by ourselves, so they went to Mexico, and America was like, yeah, we're going to take that territory too, and now you're back in America. Dude, I never even knew that. That's so crazy, dude. That kind of connection there, dude, between the Moors and the Muslims. That's nuts.
Yeah, and there's more. Like, for example, when Jesus comes, Christianity and Judaism kind of believes there's no more prophets. Whereas Islam and Mormonism are both built on, the principle that actually there is living prophecy happening. There are more prophets. We need to rely on the newer prophets. The new prophets are, updating the system, and we need to pay attention. So Islam and Mormonism have that in common, this prophetic revelation, adding to the scripture and reworking the Bible a little bit. They're not the only people to do that. But, the big kind of going alongside the polygamy thing, big families, no alcohol. That's another obvious one that I forgot about. No alcohol. Islam and Mormonism. That's a big one. In America, you have millions and millions of, people who don't drink alcohol because of their religion. So that's another big one. And yeah, they both used elements of like pagan folk magic too, kind of fused that with Abrahamic monotheism. But yeah, there's lots and lots of parallels. I'm not an expert in either, but
no, it's fine. So you're saying the Moors were Islamic?
Yeah, the Moors were Muslim. So
damn, dude, I'm descendant of Muslims. Look at me, dude. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, Tripoli, right? Your name comes from Tripoli, ultimately.
Yeah,
right?
dude. I didn't even think about that. I'm learning so much from myself. I mean, about myself, dude. About myself. It's fucking crazy, dude. Dude, it's like everything is a lie, huh?
Maybe. I'm more of a white pill guy. I think, I think it's easy to get lost in the sauce and, stuck down rabbit holes. But, every day the sun's shining, at least in Florida, the sun's shining. It's beautiful out. There's so much more good and truth in the world than there are lies. So, I'm content.
So, I have a buddy of mine. He's a devout Christian. He follows like what he says is the religion of Jesus. He's not into the whole apparatus of organized religion. But he's often talked to me about, this war that will come up between the lost tribes and the pagans. And, the lost tribes to him are Israel, the UK, and the America. I see you're talking about lost tribes of Israel, lost tribes of America. Is that what we're talking about here in terms of that?
A little bit. Yeah, so there's, the two sides of that are, I think what you're describing is your friend might be like a British Israelite or a, believe that the Northern European people, especially the English, Scottish, and Irish, are like distant cousins of the modern Jews or the ancient Israelites. And the other side of that is the Native Americans being not the lost tribes, but at least in some part influenced or, they received a genetic contribution from some Israelites. So, just coming off the heels of the Mormonism topic, Mormons believe that some Israelites got on a boat and sailed to America. That's their starting point for their whole mythology. Not to be rude and call it mythology, but their explanation of things starts with Israelites getting in a boat and coming to America. So it's not exactly a whole lost tribe, but those Israelites left a big impression, a big influence on the Native Americans here. But yeah, which direction you want to take it, the British Israelism thing or the Native American Israel?
What do you guys want to do? A Native American?
I think we talked about the Native American thing last time a little bit with
All right.
how the Native Americans were kind of Jewish almost.
Do you remember that?
No.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah?
Vaguely.
So the first episode we talked about the Moors a lot, and then the second time I was on we talked about giants a lot more, and then I think we ended on the Native Americans being kind of Jewish or like having Israelite characteristics.
All right, so let's do the British, but before we get into that, Is it all mysticism, dude? In your opinion, is everything just somewhere there's some magic and energy manipulation and stuff like that? Because people are like, "Oh, these people run the world. These people run the world." And my opinion is, it's sorcery, sorcerers at the highest levels.
Well, I think I might be able to help with this. Okay, there's all these people who blame the Vatican, the Jews, the Freemasons, the Rothschilds. What I like to say is this. And 13 bloodlines, guys, there's 7 families who are way more influential, way more dark and sinister than the 13 bloodlines.
What? There's another level?
Way more. Way deeper. These guys you've never heard of. It's not the Farneses. It's not the Medicis. It's not the Rothschild, Rockefeller. It's not. And I put my life at risk even bringing them up.
We're all about it, dude.
They're the darkest. These are the ones who can actually come and get you in your home in the middle of the night, take you off, off the face of the earth. But
well, you know what? We're willing to risk your life.
These 7 bloodlines they trump the 13 bloodlines, the Illuminati, all that. Do you guys want to guess? Do you think you know any of them?
This one start with a P.
This one start with a P.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. We might have to beep some of these names if there are certain names in there, but who are they?
Pride, gluttony.
Oh, snaps.
Wrath.
Oh.
Lust.
Lust is a bad one.
And what are the other ones? What am I missing? Sloth.
Yeah, Johnny, you're a Christian. What are the 7?
Well, that's extra biblical, but yeah.
Greed, sloth, wrath, pride or vanity, gluttony, envy. Maybe envy and greed are the same. I forget. There's 7. So basically,
Wrath.
Learn the 7.
Wrath. Yeah.
Wrath.
That's how the English say wrath.
Yeah.
Wrath.
So as much as we should fear these outside forces and all that, they're not going to touch you. All they are people, organizations that have succumbed to those 7 sins more than the average person. So, what we put in our mouths is the Illuminati. What we eat, what we say, that's, as above, so below, as within, so without. Start with what you can control. And that's what I'd say is, don't get too spooked out. There's always going to be the powers that be. All authority is God given. God chooses your bad boss. God chooses your bad. My dad was evil. My boss is evil. It's all in God's hands. The cards fall where they do.
I agree with that. Not to get mad at that stuff and let it go, dude. Just let it go.
Just control what you can. Make sure you're doing what you can. Don't black pill.
That's crazy, dude. I love that. That is what controls people. Lust is a really bad thing right now with a lot of people. You see all these guys getting taken down because they can't control their lust.
We're all dealing with, all 7 are ingrained in the human organism. People say we have 7 chakras. Well, those 7 chakras can be engines of virtue or vice, right?
I agree wholeheartedly, dude. I totally 100% agree. It's like, and it's so crazy because I have friends of mine that they're having problem with drinking and stuff like that. They're always calling me up, and it's just like, if you can control these things, gluttony and all that stuff, it's amazing how much lighter you walk. It's like these sins, they're not sins, Johnny. What are they called? The 7 deadly.
Well, there's 7 deadly sins. Yeah,
vices. Vices. Sins or vices.
Yeah. But I just said they're not actually in the Bible. They're kind of a collection of ideas from the Bible rather than actually explicitly in the Bible.
Yeah, if you can control those, you become very powerful. But they always bring so much instant gratification.
It's not as much controlling them as not letting them control it, because they're all things that can just take the wheel. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do know what you mean, for sure. And that's the story of my life.
And because I don't know if I told you, but in front of my house, there's an AA
Lodge?
meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not lying, on Father's Day, Mother's Day, I can't park my fucking car outside because I'm pretty sure it's a trigger for them and it's packed. I can tell when it's a hot day. I was like, oh yeah, and they all show up on Sunday. There's like certain days where it's like really packed. And they're really nice people, and they're all just drinking coffee, smoking.
Yeah.
But it's just, like you said, it's in certain days where they can't control it or they need a little bit extra help on those days.
And
I
probably
feel
Father's Day is that their dad got sober and he's like cleaned up his life. They want to celebrate it with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you can get those things locked down and then you see your friends who can't and they're just lost, it's brutal, dude. It's brutal to watch. You're like, all you got to do is stop this and everything will get better. And they just can't, dude. Because then they start getting feelings. That's the worst part. People start feeling stuff. It becomes overwhelming and they just want to numb out. So much of even smoking weed all the time is about numbing out and not feeling what you're feeling. And it's kind of crazy because, you know, what you learn when you get sober is that you become a first responder to your own problems. Instead of running from them, you run to them and you deal with them, and before they become Godzilla and they're just wrecking your life that is Tokyo, you know? And it's a very powerful thing. But yeah, man, I get that, dude. They're using these vices to control us. Hey guys, I just want to tell you real quick. Last night I had a big show at the Comedy Store, Comedy Chaos, and I'm like, I need a shirt that fits the vibe. And guess what? I took out my Quince black shirt and Daddy looked good. Daddy looks real good, okay? That's why I keep coming back to Quince. They focus on high quality essentials that feel and look amazing. Think breathable linen and soft organic cotton. Well-made basics, but without the luxury markup. It's that rare balance where everything feels elevated, but still is affordable.
Quince European linen pants and shirts are the perfect warm weather upgrade to add to your rotation, starting at just $34. Their tees are soft and easy to wear, and their lightweight cotton sweaters, which I love, are perfect for cooler summer nights. Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. And get this, they work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality, not brand markup. Quince goes way beyond clothing, too. They have custom upholstered sofas, ceramic cookware, premium bedding, all that. It's the kind of brand you end up recommending to everyone for everything.
Feel good, look good for less. That's what we're talking about with Quince. I felt that last night. Daddy had a good vibe, dropping Hammer of the Gods on these unsuspecting fools. Looking stunning. I felt stunning, okay? And Quince was a big part of that. Elevate your summer wardrobe. Go to quince.com/tinfoil hat for free shipping on your order and a 365-day returns, okay? Guys, that's a full year. Do you understand that? That's a full year, dude. Now available in Canada, too. You're welcome, you Canucks. That's QUINCE.com/tinfoil hat for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/tinfoil hat. Guys, I know what you love. You love XG. And what do you love XG? You love him with as much hair as possible. And that's why I want to tell you our good friends at Hims have solved his crop circle problems, okay? The dude has a full head of hair, and we love Hims for it. Let me tell you what Hims can do for you and your hair loss situation. When thinning starts, it's not just your hair that takes a hit. It can change how you feel day in and day out. Hims makes it simple to take control of hair
regrowth treatment for you with flexible subscription options, access to 24/7 provider support, and once-a-day treatment options that fit your daily routine. Hims is there to get you back to your old self with simple 100% online access to trusted treatments for real health concerns, all in one place.
So you think we're crazy? Let's take XG. XG, tell us about you and your head.
Hims is actually a real game changer. Johnny's gonna put a picture of me. I'm not lying. I was losing hair. The hat wasn't doing no justice, and I just bought the topical. Used it literally like how I brush my teeth in the morning and at night. A little spray right before bed. I couldn't believe it. My girlfriend was like, "I don't want to hype you up, but your hair is looking a little better." And I didn't want to see a picture. I looked at it and I was so impressed. I sent it to Dana, and I just want to thank him because honestly, I was gonna be like,
he went from a crop circle to a full forest. For simple online access to personal and affordable care for hair loss, ED, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/tinfoilhat. That's hims.com/tinfoilhat for your free online visit. hims.com/tinfoilhat.
Featured products include compounded drug products, which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety info. Individual results may vary based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil and finasteride.
And we thank them for sponsoring this show.
I hear you, but I'd say the vices replace the they. Don't worry, they. We use these vices to control us. God programmed the world to be like this with checks and balances and lessons. So, I think understanding that the virtue and the vice is a good way to cope with the they, or not play the blame game too much.
It is God, and God will. Everything is about detaching you from God, and that's what so many people just don't understand. And it just seems when people get closer to God, they're happier, and the people who are away from God seem miserable. They just seem miserable. And it's crazy to me, dude. It's just crazy,
and, dude. Like growing up here near Palm Beach, I used to park a lot of, I used to park a lot of their cars over on Palm Beach Island. And a lot of these guys are not as put together as you think. They're not as cohesive and, all in the same program as you think. A lot of them, they get in arguments with their drunk wives in front of the restaurant, and they have to walk home, and they're stuff like that. Like George Bush came in, or Jeb Bush came in and tipped me $2 crumpled up and apologized, one time. And he was driving like a shitty old car, not the Bentley and the security detail that you think. So maybe just getting a couple peeks behind the curtain and, like Fox News hosts and politicians are always over there. And, seeing some of that, I guess I've came away thinking they're not as all put together and squared away and on the same page as we think. I don't think they're all getting this script from the Illuminati. I think they're all operating on the same vice. I hate to use the word frequency, but almost like because it's so overused. But, when you engage in a certain level of vice, or you make yourself blackmailable, let's say, right? That's a good example. Then you're on this other script that may be coming from the devil himself directly. It's not always a news channel headquarters pumping out, the Illuminati script for the day. Sometimes it is
imagine
just
that email. I got an email from the Illuminati. Oh, what are we doing today? Oh, trans kids. All right, let's go, bro.
When you see like some of these blue-haired freaks like protesting or promoting trans kids and this or that, did they get the script, or is it just what they hear on CNN, or are they possibly giving in to the same dark perversions from an internal source? So I'm never discounting that element of how much comes from within. So, all right, what else you guys want to talk about?
I would love to talk to you about the British Israelis.
Okay, hell yeah. So, you also kind of mentioned the pagans, and how there's a lot of like neo-pagans today who reject Christianity because they think it's like a Jewish creation, or like a Jewish Frankenstein.
Yes,
like,
I hear that all the time.
It's a Middle Eastern god that they created to destroy Europe, and now Christianity pacified the white man, and that's a bunch of bullshit. Basically, the British Israelism angle is a crucial component to understanding the Bible, Europe, America's role in the future. How did Israel get, how did the Jewish people get Israel today? It was the British who helped them do it. Israel didn't go knock, the Jews didn't go knocking on the door and take that country over. The British took over the Holy Land for them and handed it to them on a silver platter. And British Israelism played a large role in that. So what is British Israelism? So we know about the Jews, right? We see Jews today and you hear people say Jesus was Jewish. Well, not necessarily. Today, there are three groups of Jews in the world, for the most part. There's Ashkenazi, who form as an they emerge as a distinct ethnic group only about 1,000 years ago. Okay. In Eastern Europe, Central Europe. So you can't compare Jesus to that at all. It's 1,000 years later. They had a significant genetic bottleneck. If you ever have heard about this, apparently all Ashkenazi Jews descend from a very, very small genetic pool. A couple families who were like the last survivors in one area. And not to be rude or anything, but you'll hear about Ashkenazi, genetic conditions that they have, like certain illnesses that they inherit.
And genetic diseases.
Yep. So a lot of that had to do with inbreeding and how tight their gene pool was. So you can't compare Jesus to that at all. Not even close. So far removed geographically, temporally from.
Where did they come out of, do you think?
Well, they may have originated in Israel, but by the time they end up in Europe, they've mixed with a ton of Slavic people. So Jesus did not mix with any Slavs. So that, again, puts him at odds, in a different class as Ashkenazi Jews. But moving on, there's the Sephardic Jews. That's the other big, ethnic group, the ethnic division of Jews. And the Sephardic Jews come out of Iberia. Okay, they're a little bit older than the Ashkenazi, but again, as a distinct ethnic group, they emerge hundreds of years after Jesus. And by the time, where they really get their identity is from Islam. So Islam took over the Iberian Peninsula. Remember, we talked about Moors a bunch. Well, the Moors are the Muslims in Spain and North Africa, Morocco. Well, the Muslims in North Africa crossed over into Spain in 711. That's an easy one to remember, 711. The Muslims invaded Europe. They took it over very quick, most of Spain, Portugal, and all the Jews who lived in those areas, they slowly mixed in with the Arabs, Muslims. Many of them converted to Islam, converted back to Judaism, and Sephardic Jews are largely defined by that, association and merging and mixing with Muslims. So Islam starts, 600 years after Jesus. Jesus cannot be compared to Sephardic Jews at all whatsoever. So Ashkenazi, Sephardic, Jesus was neither, and it's really an anachronism to compare Jesus to modern Jews today. What's the third group? The Mizrahi Jews. Those are the three main groups of Jews today. The Mizrahi Jews, Mizrahi just means Eastern pretty much. It's less than 1% of Jews around the world. They have no influence on America or, the Western world really. And most Mizrahi Jews are actually Sephardic Jews who are pretending to be very Middle Eastern, because Mizrahi is like this made-up identity for trying to make a collective identity for all the Jews who remained in the Middle East or North Africa, Asia, just stayed in the East. They never went to Europe like the Ashkenazi or the Sephardic. So Jesus cannot be compared to any of those three groups. So what was he? Well, most of the medieval art that depicted Jews back then, way back, showed them with red hair. Way back in the Old Testament, starting with Adam, which actually means red. we see that many of the Hebrews have red hair. So there's Adam, which means red. Later on, you get a character named Esau, who gets the nickname Edom, which also means red. Red. He was covered in red hair. He was born covered in red hair. Then comes, King David is said to have had a red or ruddy complexion. And then a couple of Solomon's wives seem to have had red hair, green or jeweled eyes. And the beauty standard, based off some other passages, seems to be that red hair with light eyes was the beauty standard for the Israelite people. So how do we get red hair out in the Middle East? Well, let's go back to Abraham, because there's all these terms. A lot of people get confused. If we don't read the Bible, these terms can get confusing. So there's Semite or Semitic. That goes back to Noah's sons. He has 3 sons. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. We get Semite or Semitic from Shem. Later on, and also people hear Ashkenazi. Ashkenaz was descended from Japheth, and that has nothing to do with their bloodline. Ashkenazi Jews are called Ashkenaz because they went to the land associated with Ashkenaz, which is like Central Europe. So Ashkenazi does not have to do with their bloodline.
Who are
what
Ham's
was I talking
kids?
Oh, well, there's some debate about that. Some people say that all the Africans and the dark-skinned people are the sons of Ham. But, there's a lot of disagreements. So people disagree as to whether the white Europeans are Semites or whether the yellow-skinned or the yellow people, Asian, Eastern Asians.
I call them the yellow people.
Yeah, the Chinamen, whether they are, the Semitic people. But, maybe you could do a comedy routine, a stand-up routine about the curse of Ham, about the penis sizes, where this was like a fierce debate in like the 1700s, 1800s, whether Ham, Shem, and Japheth, who each of them were based off average penis size
That's
of the race.
Hilarious, dude.
Because there's this family dispute where Noah gets drunk and he falls asleep naked, or with some part of his body exposed. Some people say that Ham actually had sex with his own mother, but the two interpretations are Ham did something shameful while his dad was laying asleep naked, and because of that, Ham was cursed. Shem was blessed because Shem covered his father Noah with the blanket, showing like modesty, being nice to his dad. And Japheth was kind of in between, but so people interpret that anatomically. You guys can look that up on your own. I don't want to be known as
crazy, dude. History of dick
penis
sizes
in the
I
Bible.
don't want to be known as the penis guy, but you guys can look that one up.
Hey, everyone needs a hook, dude. Everybody needs a hook. It is crazy, though, how much shady sex is in the Bible early on. Like, there's a lot of craziness in there. Johnny, why are you getting quiet?
You're right. Yeah.
I mean, it's just nuts. You're like, I know we live in a crazy society that's over-sexualized.
Did you just, why you getting quiet, me?
Yeah.
That was good. Did you ever use that as the name of a special?
Yes, that's the name of it. Why is everybody getting quiet?
That's great.
But it is interesting, like when God destroys Sodom and Gomorrah, like the one guy leaves with his daughters, and then some weird shit happens there, which is super gross, and it's just like it's just weird how we kind of have this thing where we gotta be Puritans now, but like all the OGs are getting weird, dude. All the OGs are getting weird, dog.
Yeah. Well, the how this winds back to British Israelism is there's Semite from Shem, And so we hear anti-Semitic, Semite, this or that today. Not many people know where it comes from. So Shem had lots and lots of descendants. Very few of them ended up Jewish. So to say anti-Semitic is sometimes misleading, not really accurate. But after Shem, skipping a couple generations, we get to Abraham. That's where we get the word Hebrew. So after Abraham, those are the Hebrews. Once we get to Jacob, a couple generations farther down, Jacob's sons are the Israelites, the 12 tribes of Israel. 13, 14 sometimes, but 12 usually. That's Israelite. So there's Semite, way, way back, Hebrew, then they became the Israelites, and within the Israelites there's 12 tribes. One of those tribes is the Judahites, the tribe of Judah. Jesus did descend from the tribe of Judah. That does not make him Jewish.
Yes, I've heard this. Yes.
Because he was by blood a Judahite. Now, Jewish does not mean by blood descended from the tribe of Judah. We'll get to that. So, Semite, Hebrew, Israelite, then the 12 tribes, right? Judah's one of them. Later, we go from bloodline to geography. Because remember, there's a chosen people, a chosen bloodline, chosen family. There are 12 chosen families. Then the parameters change. God's mission changes, and now it becomes a holy land. You got to get to the sacred place. If you're in the sacred place, you're more or less saved. Those were kind of the parameters for salvation. Because the chosen bloodline thing wasn't very inclusive. Not that I care about inclusivity, but then the promised land, the chosen place, becomes a little bit more inclusive because anyone can make it there and adopt the way of life. But then by the time Jesus comes, the parameters change again. Those two earlier missions served their purpose. Jesus flips the script. He gives parables explaining how, yes, there was a chosen people. Yes, there was a chosen land. But now that I'm here, those blessings are getting taken away, okay, or at least they're completed, and now they're being passed on in another form to what Christians believe to be Christianity. And this brings us back to the lost tribes, because who embraced Christianity? It wasn't just the tribe of Judah. It was all the other tribes who the Bible loses track of. So there were two exiles or captivities, Babylonian and Assyrian. And during these times, well, sorry, I skipped a little bit. So with the 12 tribes, they eventually make it to the promised land and they set up kingdoms. Okay. This is after Solomon's time. There's kingdoms.
Solomon got kicked out because he liked pagan chicks, right? They started worshiping Moloch and all that.
Yeah, stuff. Every step along the way, there's this pagan infiltration. The Israelites are never safe. They're never just, secure and, check. They always have to be vigilant. There's always this pagan infiltration. There's always this, slipping and falling down the slippery slope back into Baal worship and Astarte worship and all that stuff. But, so all right, they make it to the Holy Land, and then what? Eventually, it comes to pass that there is a northern kingdom and a southern kingdom, more or less, okay, generally speaking. The kingdom of Israel, which was most of the other tribes, was farther to the north. The kingdom of Judah, which was separate from Israel, okay, separate from Israel. You got to wonder, why don't they call Israel Judah today if it's for the Jews? They call it Israel. That may be your first clue that they might be stealing someone else's inheritance or birthright. But Israel is the kingdom to the north, made up of 10 tribes or so, and to the south is the kingdom of Judea, or Judah, which is mostly the kingdom of Judah, with some Benjamin and some Levi as well today. And today they tell you that the Jews of today are pretty much just from the tribe of Judah, Levi, and Benjamin. That all the other tribes are missing. Don't worry about them. They're gone forever. The Jews would like you to believe that the lost tribes of Israel are irrelevant. They disappeared. They merged into all the other people not worth tracking down. Jesus, however, says at one point, don't think that I'm, just called to the Jews or one people. He says, I'm actually here for the lost sheep of the house of Israel, which many people interpret to mean the lost tribes of Israel. Now, who embraced Christianity in such great numbers? It was the Northern Europeans. So we've got to ask, where did the lost tribes of Israel go? That would be that northern kingdom. The southern kingdom, Judahites. And just to demonstrate here, what did the demographics look like in Jesus' time? So we already know that there were fake Jews in Jesus' day. Do you guys know what Herodian Jews are?
No.
We've heard of King Herod.
Yeah.
So King Herod, there was a couple Herods, but the Herods were selected by the Roman Empire to serve as proxy leaders. Fake Jews ruling over this Jewish kingdom, the kingdom of Judah. And, they were not Jews. They were Edomites. So that's another kingdom that was next to that southern kingdom, Edom, the Edomites. Some Edomites, some Canaanites, some people who were not Israelites were converted to Judaism in order to maintain political control. And that is where King Herod comes from. So Herod was considered Jewish, but not really. The term we use is Herodian Jews. These are not anciently Jewish people. So right there we have, people like to talk about the Khazars and stuff. Go way back to the beginning and you'll see that stuff was already happening. So way back there's this distinction. The local people are mixing into the Israelite population and are later on becoming remembered as Jewish. So all that to say, in Jesus' day, they already had fake Jews, people claiming to be Jews. And remember, the tribe of Judah is special because they were selected to rule over the land. They were selected to be the kings or the judges, the princes, the magistrates. And by claiming Jewish ancestry, you're essentially claiming direct access to the upper class, direct ownership over, direct rulership over this area. Well, if I'm Jewish, I deserve those promises that were made. So you don't ever hear people claiming, oh yeah, I'm a Danite. Oh yeah, I'm a Reubenite. I'm a this or that. No, everyone wants to be in the king family, right? The king's bloodline, right? So there's a little bit of that going on as people trying to kind of qualify themselves for someone else's inheritance. But to bring this back to the British Israelism, who are the real Israelites? Way back, going to the Hebrews, we see Abraham's father was named Terah, and he was an idol maker. So that some people think that he was maybe Zoroastrian or something. Some other people think he may have been Hindu or something close to that, because remember, the Hindu culture spread very far west at some points, and the Semites traveled very far east at certain times. So in places like Pakistan, maybe they could have come into contact, in Babylon, so on. But I'll point one thing out to you guys I think you'll think is interesting. So Abraham is where we get Hebrew, the title Hebrew. Abraham had a wife named Sarah. Abram became Abraham, and Sarai became Sarah. God, God updated their names. So Abraham and Sarah, some people say, or it's indicated they may have even been related or half siblings or in
Of
some way
course.
related.
Oh, geez, getting weird.
Now, that's Judaism and Islam. That's the Old Testament. Now let's go look at Hinduism. In Hinduism, you have this concept or deity known as Brahma. Brahma's wife or consort, who's also his sister, is Saraswati or Sarasvati. So what are the odds of that? We're talking about potentially the two oldest religions in the world. In the Bible, Abraham and Sarah. In Hinduism, Brahma and Saraswati.
Whoa.
What are the odds of that? There's many, many other links between Hinduism and Judaism. But what I'm getting at here is, if you've ever heard of the Indo-Europeans or the Aryans,
Yeah.
I believe that the biblical story of Abraham is the biblical telling of the Aryan people. So Abra means to open or begin, the beginning, like April, right? It's the first month if we're using the zodiac. Aries, the first sign. Aries is the ram. Hebrews, they're known for that ram's horn, right? Aries, April, Abra, opening. Over in Hinduism, they have a caste, the Brahmin caste, they call the Aryans. And, in Buddhism, Aryan's a significant term as well. So basically, I believe Abraham represents the movements of the Aryan people throughout Central Asia and then making their way to the Middle East. And that's why we see this fork in the road where Hinduism and Judaism are on the same page when we go back to Abraham and Saraswati. After that, they kind of diverge into two different groups.
Hey guys, real quick, man. Listen, there is a nicotine battle out there, a war for supremacy, and one nicotine company is coming out on top, and that's our good friends at Lucy with their amazing breakers. Let me tell you about the breakers from Lucy. Lucy breakers deliver long-lasting flavor for a seriously satisfying pouch. All right, I love it. I do Lucy pouches, gum. I love their breakers. It's just a literal party. I love it. I can't stop. I love nicotine and I love Lucy. It is my go-to brand for nicotine. Listen, Lucy pouches go up to 12 milligram strength and have a unique shape that feels great. Lucy breakers are nicotine pouches with
Breakers.
yeah,
Breaker,
look at
right
that,
there.
dude. Look at that breaker, dude. Johnny loves those breakers, dude. Lucy breakers are nicotine pouches with an extra surprise. Each pouch holds a hydrating capsule that you crack with your teeth for instant bursts of long-lasting flavor. Every other pouch is the same. Lucy breakers are the only ones doing it differently to give you long-lasting flavors in pouches, okay? Thank you, Lucy. You are fire, dude. So listen, Lucy is the only pouch that delivers long-lasting, on-demand flavor, okay? Get 20% off your first order when you buy online at lucy.co/tinfoilhat with the promo code tinfoilhat. And if you don't want to wait, check out their store locator to find Lucy near you and grab it today. Now, here's it. I got to do the fine print. Lucy products are for adults of a legal age, and every customer is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical, and I love it. Thank you for sponsoring the show. Guys, listen, life is as busy as possible. It's so hard to go to work, come home, prepare a proper meal. Well, guess what? Our good friends at Home Chef have fixed that problem for you. 100%. They're the best meal kit company on planet Earth. Let me tell you about Home Chef. I'm not organized enough to be a meal prep person, But with Home Chef, my meals are on point every time. The meals are widely impressive and so easy to make. I count on Home Chef weekly delivery to stock my fridge and take care of my meal planning. I'm not only saving time, but I also reduce dishes and cleanup.
Home Chef makes cooking simple. Fresh food delivered, easy recipes to follow, and meals that actually taste great. No long shopping lists, no complicated prep, and best of all, easy cleanup. I love easy cleanup.
Yeah, I love easy cleanup.
My number one priority. It's perfect for busy lunches, whether you need a 30-minute meal, an oven-ready tray, or even a quick microwave lunch. Home Chef has you covered, and people really love it. Home Chef is rated #1 by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. Customers say they spend less time planning, shopping, and prepping meals. Plus, it's affordable. Home Chef customers save an average of $86 per month on groceries. Home Chef takes the stress out of your week with convenient weekly deliveries to keep your fridge stocked and eliminate meal planning and grocery runs, making it easy to eat well, save time, and enjoy quick and delicious meals even on your busiest days.
So here, for a limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners 50% off and free shipping for your first box, plus free desserts for life. That means life, okay? Go to homechef.com/tinfoil. That's homechef.com/tinfoil for 50% off your first box and free dessert for life. That's homechef.com/tinfoil. Must be an active subscriber to receive free desserts. And we thank them for sponsoring the show. I mean, if you look at so many old synagogues have the Hindu symbol for peace, which became the swastika. So there's a whole bunch of belief that Hinduism influenced Judaism, which is what you're saying, and Christianity as well.
Oh, totally. The word Shiva is pretty prominent in both religions. Shiva is a deity in Hinduism. It's a concept and a number in Judaism. Shiva is like the god of destruction. Some may say death, but more so creation and destruction. In Judaism, Shiva is the number 7. And it's when someone dies, you celebrate or mourn for 7 days. That's called Shiva too. So similar concepts. Jesus was often debating with these people known as the Sadducees. Well, in Hinduism, they have what we call the Sadhus. It's a whole, it's an occupation or a priest class where they're like wandering hobo monks. And so there's all these little terms that link the two religions, but yeah. And,
I find
Judaism
crazy, super interesting, dude. And by the way, Hobo Monk is a great name for a band.
So here's, if maybe just speed it up a little bit. I believe the Israelites, the Hebrews, are Northern European people. They're Celts or Vikings or something like that, who made it very, very far into Central Asia. They were the Aryans. We remember them as the Aryans, these European people who spread around Asia, bringing a new way of life, bringing agriculture, having the horse with them. That's what they're known for. Milk, you need domesticated animals to have milk and cheese and all that. And these are the same things that people known as the Hebrews or the Hyksos sometimes are credited with bringing to Egypt and the Holy Land, Canaan, Palestine. So the story seems to match up. And, Sarah, Abram.
That is so crazy, right? Like everyone's talking the same thing, just in their own way and not getting along. And, I was watching the great Jay Dyer has had a debate with 2 Freemasons on that Albert Pike believed that all the religions were saying the same thing. And I asked Jay why is that a bad thing, and he gave me an explanation. It was a pretty good explanation. But do you think that's a problem, that so many of these religions are just saying the same thing?
Maybe we can lump all the other ones together, but I do think it's a problem to look at it that way. I see Christianity as shoulders, neck, and head above the rest. Jesus is the absolute truth. You'll hear a lot of people say, "Oh, all paths are valid. All paths to the truth or God are valid." I don't think so. Working at a bookstore like this, having access to as much Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist literature as I want, I'm taking Christianity every day of the week. The worst, to give me the worst and the best of Christianity, I'll take it over everything else they have over there in the East. Maybe that's like some bias or arrogance or hubris or whatever, but Jesus gave something to humanity that none of those other religions ever came close to. Christianity, you can call it a religion if you want, but the teachings of Jesus come with no strings attached. All those other paths to the divine come with strings attached. They're going to want something from you. You're going to have to make some sacrifice or some ridiculous, compulsive behavior that these deities demand from you, or some way of life that's just abhorrent and, totally condemnable. But I'd say, as a vegetarian, what Jesus did for animals is unparalleled in any other religion. The temple at Jerusalem, you guys know about Zionism. We got to rebuild the temple, got to destroy the mosque, rebuild the temple, kick off the apocalypse. Well, what the temple's really for is to restart the blood sacrifice operation.
Yes.
That it's all for, you hear about the red heifers, but the red heifers are just to kick off those are just like the opening ceremony to kick off the normal proceedings. The normal proceedings are day after day, hundreds of thousands of goats, lambs, you name it, slaughtered, doves, because their interpretation of the Bible without Jesus means we need to restart the sacrificial system and only blood can pay for sin. That's their interpretation. And it's a scam.
Crazy.
So that's what the temple's all for. And that is the blood sacrifice plague that's been on humanity ever since the flood, or ever since Noah got off the boat. Jesus ended animal sacrifice.
I agree.
Not completely, but he freed man from the obsession, from the compulsion. Now, if you follow Jesus and listen to Jesus, you will be cleansed of that disgusting habit, that dark legacy that all groups of, all cultures in the world engaged in it at some point. Animal sacrifice, or worse, human sacrifice sometimes. So the notion that Mother Nature needs blood from us or needs some offering is false, and Jesus rejects it. The notion that God, even the God of the Bible, demands blood as atonement is rejected, and it's
That is
transcended
it, right?
by Jesus' life.
That is a big part of why Christianity is so special, because it did stop sacrifice, right? Like all the other ones wanted sacrifice, and Christianity said no to sacrifice.
Yep.
And you got the Talmud, you got the Zohar. There's a lot of like really crazy shit in there. And in the Zohar, there's a lot of anti-Christianity stuff going on in there. A lot of anti-Christianity.
Well, I don't know about the Zohar, definitely the Talmud. The Zohar is not too anti-Christian.
I heard that. Okay. Well, I've watched a couple videos on it, and they've been telling me that there is some stuff in there, but I know you read a lot of books, so I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, the Talmud definitely anti-Christian. Zohar may be opposed to Christian, like theologically, but it's definitely doesn't attack Christianity.
Respect.
Like the Talmud does attack Christianity and Jesus.
And I just feel that like there's just a group of people out there that look at everybody else as as cattle.
And, just if I could build on that earlier question, Jesus is the truth behind all other religions. So, and the sacrifice thing, people don't know. Muslims sacrifice lambs. It's like their version of Passover. They sacrifice lambs once a year. Buddhists, not all Buddhists, okay, I'll be fair, but Shinto Buddhism is one of the bloodiest religions in the world. Shinto Buddhism, blood sacrifice plays a large role right up until this day. There's certain animals, endangered animals, that they're allowed to slaughter and sacrifice because they're Shinto Buddhists. So they're allowed. Then you look at Hinduism. The number one sect of Hinduism does not perform animal sacrifice, or very rarely, only fringe interpretations. The second largest group of Hinduism, they do perform animal sacrifices, a lot of them. And to this day, I believe Hinduism performs more animal sacrifices than in any other religion yearly. And people don't know this at all. They think Hinduism is just like some wonderful, you just meditate and there's butterflies and it's perfect. Nope. You don't want to be locked down in the demonic filth going on in some of that religion. And I say that with as much love and respect as I can. I think they have a lot to offer, but with a lot of strings attached. So, same with, what else? Judaism sacrifices animals to this very day. In New York, they swing the chickens, they slit their throats and have the blood.
Dude.
It's abhorrent.
Kosher. It's kosher. It's kosher.
It's disgusting. I mean, that's how is that different than Satanism? If you showed it to an alien who doesn't speak any languages or doesn't know anything, how could you explain the difference between that and Satanism? In fact, in The Devil's Advocate, you guys ever seen that movie, Keanu Reeves?
Oh yeah,
Johnny loves it.
I do.
It explains kind of how, like we were saying earlier, who's really in control. It's the 7 sins and vices aren't really in control. That's the real organization behind the scenes. If you fall into the same sins, you become allied with people you may have never even met, and you become you operate on the same ideals and missions. In that movie, Keanu Reeves is a lawyer from Florida. And in that movie, Florida represents innocence and New York represents corruption. And, so I like that angle too. But he's a Florida lawyer, a good old Southern boy who goes up, takes a high-paying job in New York, and is come to find out at the end of the movie, his boss is the devil. So devil's advocate. His job is to be a lawyer to get the most evil people imaginable off of
Court cases.
Escape. Yep, get them out of punishment. So what you find out is one of his court cases is someone who's like Donald Trump, is like the richest guy in America. And, I love Donald Trump. I'm a Trump tard for life. But, basically this guy's like supposed to be a Donald Trump level guy, blonde, penthouse. I think they even filmed the scene in Donald Trump's real apartment or whatever. And then he goes from defending that guy, the richest guy in New York, to defending a voodoo priest who's penniless in the what would you call it? We don't have them here in Florida. The basement of some building where he's sacrificing goats, and the police arrest him for sacrificing animals. And then the argument in court is, well, this is religious freedom, and he gets off. And they actually reference a real court case here in Florida. That was a voodoo church, not a Christian church, a voodoo congregation who was sacrificing animals here in Florida. They got arrested, went on trial, and then their argument was, well, the Jews do the same thing. And the judge said, all right, they're free. They are doing nothing wrong. So animal sacrifice needs to be condemned. Forget meat eating or flesh eating. That's a whole nother thing. Animal sacrifice is like, usually you don't even eat the meat. You don't even eat the flesh. You just give it to the demons. So,
well, because I have I mean, I mentioned it. One of my guys does. One of my homies does Santeria, and they literally sacrifice chickens and stuff. And I asked him, I was like, do you eat the chicken at least when you fucking done killing it? And he says no, because obviously here there's a lot of money around where they can afford the chicken. But over there in other places where they're still hungry, they're known not to eat the chicken because it comes with bad demons and stuff. They're hungry and they're willing to sacrifice this and then still not eat it because it comes with bad demons, which is just crazy to just think about. Like, dude, just eat the fucking chicken. Even if you got to sacrifice it, you're hungry. Eat the chicken.
Well, yeah, it brings up a good.
If it's sacrifice, is it demonic? Like
you're hungry.
Yes.
I know. Yeah, it is. I would agree, it is. But you're hungry. We're talking
you
about
would eat
Cuba.
haunted meat. If someone goes, dude, this meat.
If I'm in
is
Cuba,
from a haunted cow.
If I'm in Cuba and I'm starving, I'll worry about the possession later.
You're a sin eater, dude.
Huh?
You're a sin eater.
They already killed him. My thing is, you're already killing it. You might as well eat it. It's crazy for me to kill it and then you're just gonna toss it. Like, it's more.
Well, how about this?
Oh, don't kill it. I agree.
we all believe in adrenochrome, right?
Yeah. This is we believe it here.
Now, if you had to guess, is adrenochrome a human thing or all mammals, or most mammals?
Oh yeah, we've learned
It's like
recently
cattle,
that
right?
if they really cared about just adrenochrome, they could get it from cattle just as easily as humans.
There's nothing about humans give them more adrenochrome than any of the other mammals, warm-blooded mammals. Like cows produce adrenochrome. When we eat those, most meat eaters, no offense, sorry, I know all vegetarians are self-righteous, whatever. Okay. Animal flesh is a diet adrenochrome addiction. Flesh and blood is adrenochrome. Okay, unless you're over there with your cow like Jeffrey Dahmer, petting it to sleep and then slitting its throat as trying to play this game where, if I just kill it nice enough, it won't have adrenochrome in its blood. No, those things never want to die. And I don't think any flesh is suitable for consumption, let alone that is sacrificed to demons. So to me, it's all demonic. And the Bible, according to the Bible, mankind was created vegetarian. The ideal in the Bible is vegetarianism. Adam and Eve were vegetarian. Both Cain and Abel were vegetarian. In fact, pretty much everyone in the Bible was vegetarian until Noah got off the ark, became the first drunk and the first meat eater, Noah. So,
isn't there a line where God gave somebody the animals so they could eat them? Is there a part of
it says dominion over the animals, but
right. Well, dominion is interesting. So dominion is not at all talking about eating animals. So God has dominion over us. A father has dominion over his family. A leopard does not have dominion over his prey, does he? A dominion is more about responsibility and authority. But just in case you're wondering, the dominion verse is Genesis 1:28. In case there's any confusion, Genesis 1:29, the immediate next verse is, "Let fruit and herb bearing seed be thy food." Vegetarian diet in the next verse.
Yeah, so 'cause I was about to say even Jesus made the fish and the loaves, but that's in another.
But fish aren't animals. I'm not trying to push back.
here.
I'm asking honest questions.
good one actually.
No, that's a good question. So, there's no flesh eating in the Bible until after the flood. It may have happened somewhere in the world, but it's not part of Adam's family. People say, well, didn't Abel sacrifice lambs or some of his flock? That's not true either. There's no sacrifice. There's no altar. There's no bloodshed. There's no knife. Offering has a couple meanings in the Bible. If you make a fruit offering, did you stomp on the fruit and kill it? Not really. But later on, Noah makes the first explicit animal sacrifice. God didn't tell him to do it. He just did it. If we want to look at the book of Enoch, if we want to look at some of these other books, they clear as day tell us, oh yeah, the Nephilim, the fallen angels, came down and taught man. They taught man how to sacrifice animals, and they taught the women how to wear makeup. I'm not even kidding. That's what Enoch and
Which is worse to you?
I don't know.
Let me ask you one question.
Man.
And again, I'm not trying to go at you. This is an honest question.
No, let's do it. Go at me.
Why do
it.
animals eat animals?
That's a good answer. So again, just relying on the Bible for my explanation, we can see it was sin. Man's sin brought death into the world. That is the biblical position. All of the early Christian church fathers agreed. Man was created vegetarian in a perfect vegetarian utopia where even all the animals were vegetarian. Now that may be hard to imagine, but there may not have even been death in God's original creation.
Yeah.
Now this may seem like a hippie pipe dream, except for the fact that Jesus' vision of the future mirrors this exact same thing. Jesus is quoting at least two of the prophets who came before him when he gives this vision of the future. He's quoting, man, I forget. It's either Jeremiah, probably Isaiah, I think. Isaiah, Jeremiah, or Hosea, one of those. Jesus says, or he quotes, and you guys will know the line, when the wolf will lay with the lamb and the lion will eat straw. That's when you know Jesus' mission is more or less complete, when the kingdom of heaven is here, when the bloodthirst is done, when there's no more bloodthirst. Even the lion will be content to eat vegetables. The wolf can lay down with the lamb and be best friends. We get a glimpse of this stuff when we have a cat and a rabbit, as pets at the same time, with human as with man as their role model. Almost any animal can get along. And that's Jesus' vision for the future. And it's not a soy boy thing. It's not a Bill Gates fake meat, any of this bullshit. Okay. Plato was a vegetarian. Socrates was a vegetarian. Pythagoras, all the great Greek philosophers, all the greatest geniuses, Da Vinci, Tesla, Einstein. Einstein's, I don't really like him, but all right,
Yeah,
he was
me
vegetarian. But you name it, all the world's greatest geniuses realized this. I'm not saying I'm one of them. I'm trying to be like them. Okay.
What about like Jewish dietary law has a lot of references to preparing meat.
Right. So again, let's ask.
Jesus is the new covenant and replace that. Is that what you would say?
Yeah, and let's ask ourselves, in Exodus, when they're putting out all these instructions for eating flesh, right, is that part of God's original design and perfect world? Mm-hmm. No. That is after generations and generations of sin, where God has made accommodations for a wicked and sinful people. Remember, going back to Noah, when Noah gets off the ark, he makes the first animal sacrifice. God didn't ask for it. And actually, if we're really paying attention to our Bible, God punishes him for it. And it's like taking out a loan that you can't pay back. Noah took out a loan he can't pay back, because blood is payment, right? Blood atones for sin. Well, if Noah took out this loan and he has no way to pay it back, how do you pay back a loan without declaring bankruptcy? You have to go take out another loan, right? And then you take out another, and the interest gets higher and higher and higher. So when Noah starts off with one animal or a couple, is it a good thing or a bad thing by the time we get to Jesus that the Jews are pumping out animal sacrifices, hundreds of thousands a day at the temple? The temple in Jesus' day sometimes had blood pouring down the steps, dozens and dozens of steps, blood seeping through the cracks. The temple in Jerusalem actually had gutters that a man could stand in, 6-foot-tall man could stand in, for the blood. Blood gutters in the temple of Jerusalem.
What is sacrifice for?
To appease the gods is what many people say. To atone for sin is how Abrahamic people like to frame it. But ultimately, if again, going back to like the book of Enoch or something, it was fallen angels who taught man bloodlust. The fallen angels came down to earth and demanded animal sacrifices. They demanded hundreds and thousands of them. And man would give them animal sacrifices in return for knowledge, technology, you name it. Now, how much of the sacrifice in the Bible is actually because the one good God in heaven wants it? I would say actually very, very, very little, if not none.
What about
Jesus
Passover? Passover? Not even Passover?
So Jesus's community was what we could call Nazarenes or maybe Essenes. Okay. Now, when you hear the word Essene, we got to pause and stop and remember there's a ton of misinformation, a ton of fantasy going on when people talk about the Essenes. They want them to be like these perfect yogi guru 5D YouTuber influencers who never did anything wrong, and they're like, they synthesized everything from every religion. That's not what the Essenes really were. But the Essenes were a very mystical sect of Jews back then, not just Jews, other tribes too sometimes, that John the Baptist and probably Jesus emerged out of. So this group of Judaism, and remember, back then there was 4 main divisions of Judaism back then. There were the Pharisees, who Jesus is debating a lot against. He pretty much hates them. They hate him. They can't agree on anything. Pharisees and the Sadducees. The Pharisees and the Sadducees were the two who were very much behind the temple cult, the sacrificial system in the temple at Jerusalem. The Pharisees and the Sadducees, they're getting rich off of it. They're promoting it. They're a part of more or less the upper middle class or the high class because of this. It's a big moneymaker for the Roman Empire. Every time you sacrifice an animal, you had to pay. You had to pay for an unblemished animal. And the temple raised their own animals. So they're generating money out of thin air. They did buying and trading and selling and usury in the temple as well. The money that they had pagan gods on it, the coins. None of it was good. It was messy, bad, evil. Jesus' community, probably Essenes, they weren't the Pharisees, they weren't the Sadducees. The other group was the Zealots. So Pharisee, Sadducee, Zealot, and then the Essenes. The Essenes were the 4th biggest group of Judaism back then. The Essenes were passionate vegetarians. So they read the same Torah, they read the same Bible as the other Jews, with some minor exceptions. And they came away with a vegetarian interpretation. So they practiced Passover every year, and they didn't slaughter lambs. That was not a requirement for them. They'd bake cakes, they'd bake honey cakes, they would do other things. And they really pointed to certain verses in the Bible that say things like, I think it's in Hosea or Daniel, I desire mercy, not sacrifice. Let me check this for you.
Yeah.
Hosea 6:6.
Hosea, dude.
Yeah.
There's Mexicans in the Bible.
Hosea 6:6. God says, I require mercy. I demand mercy, not sacrifice. This is Jesus' message. Forgiveness accomplishes the same goal as sacrifice. Okay? So you could either forgive someone or they could sacrifice an animal to be forgiven. Which one's better? It's really a matter of personal accountability, a tender-heartedness to forgive someone. Forgiving accomplishes the same goal as the sacrifice, except it's harder to do because you have to swallow your pride, you have to swallow your, so Jesus sets that perfect example by choosing forgiveness over sacrifice. But there were other prophets before him who were saying this as well. So there's always been a thread in the Bible of vegetarianism.
One more I'd like to throw at you is Peter's vision when he sees
Throw them all. Perfect.
The 4-footed animals, descending in this kind of sheet. And then he says he's commanded to eat them. And the voice cries out, or he says that, well, I wouldn't eat these unclean animals because they go against Jewish dietary law. and the voice says, "Rise, Peter, kill and eat." And then the Lord says, "What God has cleansed, you must not call common or unclean." What would you say to that?
So I would ask you this: Did Peter eat?
Let's see.
Did he?
I know they go back up, right? Like 3 times.
He did not.
Yeah. Does he not eat?
Peter, he resists 3 times and still does not eat. Later on, in the text, this is not my interpretation, it's in the text. Later on, Peter understands his vision, and how does he interpret it? He comes to understand it that God was telling him the clean and the unclean animals. Peter, kill and eat. Here are the clean, here are the unclean. Peter himself interprets that to mean the clean animals are the Jews who are already being ministered to, who are already being, told the word of Jesus.
Yeah, this is the way they teach the church.
The unclean animals are the pagans, the heathens, the Gentiles, who are not Jewish at all. And many of the Jewish followers of Jesus were kind of racist and believed that they shouldn't be teaching to the Gentiles. Right. So Peter interprets that himself to mean the unclean animals are the Gentiles, and the clean animals are the Jews. And God is telling him to minister to both, to be a missionary to both. And he doesn't eat. So there's not actually any flesh. Remember, it's a vision. He sees this stuff, he has this vision. And, what sinks into our subconscious? What actually sinks into our memory? Nice little gumdrops and fairy tales, or the scariest, bloody, violent acts, you remember. There are sometimes those things that are more like a scary stories often you remember easier than nice, kind of insignificant stories, right? Like a happy movie where everything's happy the whole time. You're not going to watch it. You're not going to remember much. There's a value in shocking imagery, and God understands that too, and the Bible uses shocking imagery. So Peter doesn't eat. The fact that he begged God so many times, why are you telling me to kill these things when I've never, it also says there, I've never eaten anything unclean. And if we really read that, depending on your Bible version, it's insinuated that Peter's never eaten an animal in his life. He's never eaten a clean or an unclean animal, is another way to read it. So his reluctancy to eat clean or unclean shows his vegetarian leanings. From his starting point is probably more vegetarian. Now, James, the brother of Jesus, that's right, the blood brother of Jesus, was a lifelong vegetarian. He's universally remembered as a lifelong vegetarian. Raised same mother, same father as Jesus, same household. How did he end up lifelong vegetarian? Meaning no meat in childhood, but Jesus was a barbecue enthusiast? I don't think so. There's one instance. I'll give you this.
He does help fishermen quite a lot, though.
What?
Well, that's a good point. Let's get into that. There's a single instance where Jesus has any sort of animal food in his mouth. It's after he's resurrected, okay? It's not in all the Gospels. And it's not something he ordered off the menu. Jesus appears to his followers after a resurrection, and they don't believe that it's really Jesus. They're touching him, but they can't believe it's him. And they say, all right, open your mouth. And they put something on his tongue that they were eating. Some people say it's broiled fish. You could also interpret it as honey and honeycomb, or something like that. But it says broiled fish. Boiled or broiled fish. If that makes Jesus a meat eater, well, whatever. He's the Son of God. He can do what he wants. It's God himself. Now, he had a single piece of broiled fish. Remember, it would almost be like a potato chip. It's like so cooked or dried or something. But
it's like fish skins. I don't know if you had the fish skins. It's kind of like that, right? I would say
Yeah, it's some little finger food that they put on his tongue, and then they kind of closed his mouth and made sure that his body actually functioned. That the goal wasn't to nourish him. He didn't order it off the menu. Now, if I really want to take the backdoor argument out of that, I'd say the fish, all the fish we see in the New Testament is largely symbolic. Going back to what you said about Peter, what does Jesus tell his disciples? I want you to be fishermen, fishers of men. Go out and fish for me. Go out and fish. Whoever can. Yeah. So that is largely symbolic or allegorical. Now, to get to the specifics, there's a lot of numerology and gematria going on, even in the New Testament. And the numbers of fish are significant. Okay, so there's one instance Jesus captures 5,000 fish. There's another one where he captures 153 big fish. Okay, 5,153. Now, the feeding of the 5,000 he does with 2 fish and 5 loaves. 2 plus 5 is 7, right? Okay.
Yes.
Now, how do we get to 5,000? Well, he's multiplying, right? He's literally multiplying things. Did you know that 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6 times 7, so 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6 times 7, gets you to 5,054? 5,000. It's pretty close. 5,054.
All right.
So there might be some numerology going on. Now let's look at 153. 153.
40. Yeah.
Oh, 540. Is that what you said?
No, it's 5,040. Yeah. You're right.
Thank you.
If
Yeah.
multiply
No,
it
you're right.
all the way till 7,
Yeah.
it's 540. Yeah.
It's obviously his
I
arm
saw-
week over here, actually.
Oh, yeah.
You're right.
We're Sherman, yeah.
I messed up. I said 5,054, but you're right. 5,040.
Yeah.
Pretty close. Okay, the Bible does round up and down sometimes. So from going from 7 to 5,000, you can do that with a pencil. So I'm not trying to take away from the Jesus story, but I'm saying there's other elements to it than just fish on the menu. You know. Again, if you go to Mark, which many people believe is the first gospel, so Mark is the original story. Matthew adds some to that. Luke adds some more. And by the time you get to John, it's like a whole theological reinterpretation of the life of Jesus. But most scholars say John is not historical and Mark is the most historical. Now, if we check, does Jesus multiply fish in Mark? So yeah. So there is fish in Mark, but when we go back to the Old Testament, Jesus is like multiplying this bread and fish because there was someone else who did that before him. And that person who multiplied bread for Jesus, Elijah. Okay? Elijah multiplied bread, but not fish. So I'm not saying people added the fish into the Bible, although many people do say that. I'm not trying to take away from the Bible, but there is an argument to be made that the fish is largely symbolic and the bread is always there. We know that bread is Jesus's preferred food. We asked about Passover earlier. Jesus replaced the Passover lamb with the bread. He replaced the blood and the lamb with wine and bread. So, and again, as a vegetarian, I think it really all comes down to this. Would I rather my friends eat steak or fish? If they have to eat some flesh as a vegetarian, I'm going to choose fish.
Why?
Well, there is, many vegetarians shy away from this conversation, but there is a hierarchy to life or the souls of animals. And I'm not ashamed to say that. For example, all of you guys would proudly say, I'll save my dog's life, but I'll kill any other animal if I need to for food, right? But your dog is like, man, I've got more consideration for my dog, right? So you guys would agree there's this, as how close an animal is to us, we may feel more consideration, right? We all have that bubble of morality or care, who we care for. Yourself is in there, or your immediate family is at the center of that bubble, and maybe your closer friends are outside or at the end of the bubble, or your neighbors, more at the outer regions of that bubble, who you're more likely to die for, protect, or really, put something down on the line for. And the farther you get away from yourself and humanity, people drop off that compassion. I don't think Jesus had that. I think Jesus had maxed out compassion for every living thing. But, personally, of course, we place the highest value on human life. Then perhaps we place the highest value on animal life as it relates to humans, what they can do for humans, how much we mean to them, how much they mean to us. So things like dogs and horses, right? Someone's eating a horse, throw them in jail. That's illegal in Florida. Or someone's eating a dog, throw them in jail, right? Maybe not every country in the world, but there is that consideration, right? They do so much for us, we at least can protect them and not eat them, right? So pushing that kind of sphere of consideration outward, we get to domesticated animals. The cow can do a lot for us too, can pull our farming equipment. The chickens can pick up the insects off the ground, remove ticks, all that stuff, fertilize the ground. Rabbits, guinea pigs, you name it. They all have a role in our lives. Now, those ones we still eat, but we have a lot of care and consideration for them. We'll spend hundreds, thousands of dollars caring for them and stuff. How much can you say that for fish? Fish is very, very far outside of that sphere of consideration. And, I believe in being nice to fish and caring for fish, but I don't think humans should ever feel ashamed for choosing the life of a fish over their dog or, a cow or something that feels more human, feels more alive. And, vegetarians like to say, oh, well, vegans or vegetarians say, oh, I respect all life the same. Fuck that. Stomp on a cockroach if you need to. Stomp on a spider if it's posing a threat to the home. But, there is a hierarchy.
I agree.
And so, were there fish in the Garden of Eden that we were there, talking to? In the Garden of Eden, I imagine Adam talking to the other animals, being able to communicate, having this pure experience, this pure heartedness. And by the way, when Noah gets off the ark and sacrifices the first animal, God punishes him. And God says, now all the animals in the world are going to be terrified of you, of humanity. I made you their best friend. And what do? You sacrificed one without me telling you. Now I'm going to demand more sacrifices because you don't know what you got yourself into.
Interesting. That explains why all the animals can hang out in the boat together.
Oh.
You ever hear
exactly.
That's a famous joke.
Yeah,
That's a
bingo.
famous Rogan joke.
Yep.
So
Bingo.
listen, I don't want to keep you much longer. You have a conspiracy about fast food. Can we hear that real quick, or did you already get into it? No, I feel like you haven't talked.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the Knights of the Golden Circle and the fast food thing are like almost the same story. So during the Civil War, there was a secret society. They were pretty much the Freemasons of the South, of the Confederacy. So in the years leading up to the Civil War, starting in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 1830s, 1840s, 1850s, they started this society called the Order of the Lone Star. The Lone Star. That's like the Lone Star, Texas. Well, that actually comes from Florida. So Texas got that Lone Star flag because a bunch of Floridians responded to a call for help, went over there with guns, and rescued a bunch of Texans. And they brought a Lone Star flag with them. Do you know what the name of that Lone Star flag was?
What?
The Bonnie Blue.
Oh,
That's so crazy.
Bonnie Blue. Okay. Now, I don't know if that has anything to do with her, but man, what a name to choose. But Bonnie Blue, the name of that flag, Floridians, you rescued these Texans. They left this this legacy of this Lone Star flag. Now, the Lone Star, believe it or not, is actually Lucifer. This does kind of get into some Albert Pike stuff, Civil War, the South, Freemasonry. The Lone Star is Lucifer. And, well, all right. So basically, the Order of the Lone Star, they were a group of slave owners, Freemasons, spies, who had this vision for the South. Over time, they rebranded as the Knights of the Golden Circle. Eventually, they'd become the KKK, but we'll get to that. The Knights of the Golden Circle, right up before the Civil War, there was tons and tons of Freemasons in America. When the Civil War was breaking out, the Freemasons had to choose between the South or the North, kind of, right? And all the Freemasons in the South they were going to split off as a new group because they couldn't be on the same side, North versus South, they have to split. The Freemasons in the South, for the most part, rebranded themselves as the Knights of the Golden Circle. So first they were the Order of the Lone Star, as a very small group. Then when all the Freemasons switch, they're the Knights of the Golden Circle. That's the KGC. They were like the Knights Templar of the Confederacy. They were like the Secret Service and the Secret Police and the MI5, MI6, CIA of the Confederacy. And many great, decisions and military plans were made in KGC lodges, Knights of the Golden Circle, meeting places. They called them castles. Knights of the Golden Circle, castles, not lodges. The Alamo was right across the street from a Knights of the Golden Circle outpost. The Knights of the Golden Circle, their plan was, they were like the secret leadership of the Confederacy, and their plan was, instead of fighting the North, let's just make peace with the North and go south, take over Mexico, take over Cuba, take over everything we can in the Caribbean, Mesoamerica, South America, and make a slave empire there. So that is the goal of the Knights of the Golden Circle. When the Civil War breaks out, they have to kind of put a pause on those plans, and they have to go fight the North, which they didn't want to do. But then the North wins, South loses. You guys know the story. Then what happens to the KGC? The KGC, in case you didn't know, they were dressed like knights. They'd wear like armor sometimes. They'd wear helmets with a pointy tip. So the helmets had almost like those old German helmets that had like the tip at the top. Yeah. They almost looked like narwhal tusks. They had metal helmets with this big tip on them.
They love hats.
Now, have you guys ever seen the movie Birth of a Nation, or ever heard about it?
Yes.
The KKK movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like over 100 years old. It was one of the first full-length movies like ever made. Like grand production, movies. And it was pro-KKK. Well, that movie shows, and they played it at the White House too, believe it or not. That movie shows how the KKK emerged out of the KGC. They don't teach us in school about that. What does KKK mean? Do any of you know?
Johnny. It's
Ku Klux Klan, right?
Ku Klux Klan.
I don't know what Ku Klux
Right.
Klan. Yeah.
Ku Klux Klan.
Well, what does Ku Klux Klan mean?
And why is Klan spelled with a K? Yeah.
So Ku Klux means circle. They split it up into 3 words because they want that nice K, K, K. K is the 11th letter of the alphabet. So 11, 11, 11. That's 33.
Ooh.
Three, yep, 3 Ks, 3 11s. Ku Klux is Greek for circle or cycle, right? You see those, the C's in cycle, if you turn them into K and then you turn the Y to a U. That's what happens when you go from Greek into English. Y's become U's and C's become K's. Ku Klux means circle. The KKK, you guys can look this up, it means Knights of the Circle Clan. Knights of the Golden Circle. Knights of the Circle Clan. We've all heard about the KKK. No one ever talks about the Knights of the Golden Circle. The Knights of the Golden Circle, who were fighting to keep their slaves people argue, oh, it wasn't actually about slavery. Well, the Knights of the Golden Circle, they did care a lot about slavery. That was a big thing for them. So they wanted to have infinite slavery forever in, Mexico and South America. To this day, did you guys know there's tens of thousands of descendants of Confederate soldiers from the KGC who did end up, doing this, at least on their own? There's tens of thousands of Confederate descendants who live in Mexico and Brazil to this day. They have festivals. They have, like they walk downtown like a parade, and all their Confederate gear and flags and stuff. Seriously, look it up.
Yeah, but I think Vice or somebody went down there and met with them. It's the weirdest thing to see them flying that flag, and the Confederate battle flag mostly in Brazil. So bizarre.
Yeah, that's because of the KGC. That's what turned their sights down south.
Well, and you hear it before it was clear that the generals at the highest levels were going to be given clemency after the war. It was in all of their diaries. Everybody there, they were like, "We got to get to fucking Mexico," like stat. That was it was clear that they had planned to get a lot of them were all just heading. It was a stream of Confederates heading south. Totally to try to fight back.
Also, all of the conspirators who were involved in the Lincoln assassination. So John Wilkes Booth,
yep.
All of his conspirators, they were all confirmed members of the Knights of the Golden Circle.
Whoa.
Confirmed. The Knights of the Golden Circle tried multiple assassination attempts. They did Jesse James. You guys know Jesse James, like the bank robber, he came out of the Knights of the Golden Circle too. The entire presidential cabinet before Lincoln, what was his name? I forget his name. President for...
Who is that?
Okay. Buchanan. So, with the exception of Buchanan, all of Buchanan's advisors were members of the Knights of the Golden Circle. It's crazy. There was so many governors and leadership in the Confederacy who were members of this, and after the war, they became the KKK. They had to go even more underground. Now, why does the KKK have pointy white hats? Because when they rebranded, they kept those Knights of the Golden Circle helmets, and all they did was they put white sheets over them. So the pointy white hat is because they have a Knights of the Golden Circle helmet underneath.
Oh my God.
And
that's why they stay up so well. Like, why is that thing sagging?
Going back to Birth of a Nation, that movie. Birth of a Nation not only glorified the KKK, it also birthed the fried chicken stereotype. Okay? Now, guys, this is going to get into some ridiculous territory. These are some good old conspiracy theories, right? Just like schizoing out at
We're all about schizoing out.
Love it.
Schizoing out at the menu of a fast food restaurant. Basically, most of the fast food in America was created or is an homage to the Knights of the Golden Circle because of that KKK movie where they birthed the fried chicken stereotype. Have you ever heard It's going to get dark. This is the ultimate fast food conspiracy. You've heard about Colonel Sanders
Yeah.
being a Freemason. He was a Shriner, a Freemason. You know, Colonel Sanders, when he was alive, you know, he was one of the top 3 most famous people to have ever lived.
Really?
Yeah. Did you know if you flip his birthday upside down, it's 666? He was born like
That's crazy, bro.
He's born 9990, something like that. You flip it upside down, 666. KFC or KGC? Did you know when Kentucky Fried Chicken makes grilled chicken, they print KGC on their packaging?
What?
When KFC goes to the Olympics, they don't want to be fried chicken. They're grilled chicken. It's healthier, right? They put KGC. You guys can look this up. KFC prints KGC on their packaging. The KGC, okay, going back to the birth of a nation, where it shows the KGC becoming the KKK, has the scene where all the black people are eating fried chicken, acting like idiots.
Damn.
What are you going to do if you're a rich, malevolent slave owner? You can't have slaves. It's no longer an option. You can't really farm because that's how you farmed. Would it make sense that you might get into the food supply in another way, or you might get into another part of this? Now, fast food chains. That brings slavery to mind too, doesn't it? Chains. Okay. Damn. Fast food, FF 66, whatever, not much, nothing there really. But if you go through all the fast food chains, they all have some dark, insidious origin that points back to the KGC. So, what's his name? Colonel Sanders. Did you guys know that Colonel Sanders actually catered the Manhattan Project?
Oh my!
Really?
To make,
that's amazing.
I swear to God. I think that was before KFC was a thing. He catered the building of the atomic bomb. There's some good ingredients in there, right? That's some good energy going on.
Wow.
What after that? You know that he was involved in a shooting with Standard Oil executives that left one man dead in front of a gas station. What's his name? Colonel Sanders.
Like you remember when on the last episode we talked about the movie about Melania trying to make her look like a good person, and then you got like now you got this kind of rebranding of Colonel Sanders as a jolly old man, and he's really a gunslinging fucking Klans member.
Well, there's all these theories. I didn't come up with this. Go search Colonel Sanders KKK, and there's literally dozens of rumors, folklore, allegations that he donated to the KKK after he died. All these links between. Now, I'm not trying to get sued here. KFC and the KKK, people can look it up for themselves. I didn't come up with any of that. How many herbs and spices do they use?
33?
11.
11.
KKK. The 11th letter. Okay. Now, it's all the fast food too, by the way. And also, John Wayne Gacy?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mass murderer. Did you know that he was the manager of 3 KFCs?
Oh my God.
Wow.
That was his. Did you know that he would feed KFC to his victims?
Oh God.
I swear to God. Did you know that he'd dress up as a clown?
Yeah.
To terrorize his victims?
Yeah.
Okay. How many fast food restaurants have clowns as their mascots? A lot of them. It's not just McDonald's.
Jack in the Box.
McDonald's is the golden 33. Hardee's or hard R's. That's what I like to say. Hardee's. You got the EE there. It's like a 33. Now, Hardee's, it's the star. It's the Lone Star, right? So you'll see all these fast food places either have a golden circle or a Lone Star. Go check for yourself. Popeyes, Lone Star. Hardee's, Carl's Jr., That's a star. Golden Corral, Golden Circle. Okay, pretty dang close. What are some other ones? Crystals. Did you know Crystals was named because the wife of the owner had an epiphany while staring into a crystal ball?
I did
That's
not know
crystals
that.
for you.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crystals. Now, White Castle is a direct reference to the castles of the Knights of the Golden Circle. White. They wanted a white America, a white castle. It's like the white robes,
Damn, dude.
I have a whole video on this, the Knights of the Golden Circle and the fast food conspiracy, but it's literally all of them. Like, for example, either Hardee's or Carl's Jr., they were started in their Wikipedia. You can go look. $311 was the starting investment for Hardee's or Carl's Jr. $311. 3 times 11 is 33. That's 3 11s. It's KKK.
It's like the
I know
first
this is a little-
Macintosh was $666.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Damn, dude. That's crazy. Damn, dude.
Yeah, man. And it's like here I got a list here. Oh, why is everything spelled with a K? Crystals, Krispy Kreme, Kmart. I'm like, dude, everything is spelt with a fucking K.
Yeah.
That's because of the Knights of the Golden Circle. KGC, if you Germanize it, which is what they kind of did, it all turns to K. So a K in German, it's a K. A G in German can be a K, and a C in German can be a K.
How they spell America
Yo.
with a K. in German.
Yep. You're
Okay,
totally
have you
right.
ever seen the movie They Cloned Tyrone?
No.
No, it sounds fantastic.
What the?
Is that Jamie Foxx's movie?
They Cloned Tyrone is about a town where an evil group of white people are grounding up humans and feeding them to black people in the shitty little fast food joints. There's another movie called. Have you ever seen The Kingsman?
Yes.
It's like the spy movie.
Yeah.
Okay, the second one is called what?
The Secret Service. Oh no, that's
I don't-
that's the
first one.
Yeah. Oh, what the
I think
Golden
that's the
Circle?
first
The Golden Circle, right?
Golden Circle.
And where do they go in that one? They go to Kentucky, which is where the Knights of the Golden Circle were
right,
founded,
yeah.
which is where I believe the KKK and Knights of the Golden Circle were both founded in Kentucky. I could be wrong, but Kentucky Fried Chicken, the KGC was founded in Kentucky. They go in that movie, the Golden Circle, they're infiltrating a drug trafficking network who's responsible for what? It's a woman who looks like Wendy with red hair, and she runs a fast food chain. She owns a donut shop, ice cream shop, and a diner. In the diner, she grinds up human meat, puts it into the food, and feeds it to people in secret. She puts drugs and nanotechnology into the food and feeds it to the world. Why did they call that movie Kingsman? Okay, The Golden Circle, KGC. Is that some breadcrumbs? Is that some in your face?
That's
predictive
crazy,
programming,
dude. You
Wendy.
just blew my mind.
What's Wendy? Wendy means white. Gwendolyn, Wendy, way back, the original word means white. Okay, so there's another, this whole white side of this. Wendy, if we want to stretch this a little more, do you guys know what the Native Americans call the cannibal spirit?
What?
Wendigo. Wendigo. That's the Native Americans say if you eat human flesh, you become a Wendigo or you suffer from this Wendigo demon. It's like Kuru. Mm-hmm. It's like adrenochrome craziness, Wendigo. So when you go Wendy's to go, Wendigo, right? It's like the drive-through at Wendy's with the red hair. Yeah. Cannibalism's often associated with red hair too, for some reason. The Lovelock Giants.
That's crazy, dude.
So she's pale with red hair. She's a cannibal.
She's white.
Also, I don't think I forget if her name's not Wendy, but she might not be red-haired either, like the real Wendy. But yeah, it's every single fast food place has, Crystals with a K. Bojangles. Did you know that Bojangles was literally like he was like the Uncle Tom, like foolish black guy that they'd have make a fool of himself in every movie.
Mr. Bojangles.
Bojangles. Yeah, he was like this.
Do you got one?
You
is there anything for In-N-Out? Because we love In-N-Out. It's California. I don't think there's a Bible verse at the bottom of the cup. Like, careful.
Yeah.
Man.
I can't.
That's good shit.
Can't, yeah, I think In-N-Out's safe. Yeah.
Yay!
End on a good note, dude. Love it.
I don't know.
Great show, bro. Great show, dude.
Golden Arches
Also,
aren't far from.
Also,
he said
checkers
that's
and
33.
rallies.
Checkers
No,
and
but I
rallies.
mean,
Checkers and rallies.
Yeah.
Masonic checkers and Klan rallies. People say, "Oh no, it's a race theme. It's a racing theme. Race or skin color race, racing theme. The black and the white.
What was
checkers?
Sorry, why did they? So the end game is what with that? Like, why is this?
Oh, goy slop. I mean, why are they feeding people?
Goy slop. Okay.
You know,
I love that goy slop.
No, I mean,
is it out?
I'm gonna name a restaurant that.
You know, we've heard. Oh, here's another one. 7-Eleven. Remember, I told you.
Oh, yep.
7-Eleven is when the Muslims invaded Europe. Now we have the 7-Eleven food chain. Do you guys know what the 7-Eleven brand of foods and desserts is called?
What?
No one's ever broke this on the internet. Okay, I didn't put it in my video. You guys can break it for the first time. Go Yum Foods.
Oh,
Goyam.
Wow.
Go
That's
Yum.
so funny.
Literally Goyam Foods. If you go get ice cream at 7-Eleven, it's Goyam brand.
Here, you
I'm
read
not
this
even
shit.
kidding.
Yeah, it's like just
Goy Yum
So-
Foods. Oh. Yo, fuck, that's fucked up.
That's fucking crazy.
Oh, yeah.
That's why that's what you get for eating food at 7-Eleven.
Oh, it's a dark day, isn't it?
It's a
When
dark
you have
day.
to eat 7-Eleven. I mean, it's just
You know, and
I get
look
there
at all
and
the
people
brands.
ordering, they're doing like grocery shopping there. I'm like, what are you doing at 7-Eleven?
They got tacos. No.
Why would you as a
Okay, I'm not
Mexican
eating
eat
it.
a taco at 7-Eleven? Hey, man, you want some
You know, we
spaghetti
got-
Italian guy at 7-Eleven? No, go fuck yourself. Like, people get sushi there. I'm like, you just hate yourself. Who's eating that? You get behind those people, you just want to do an intervention.
pizza, like pizza, dude. Even
Their pizza, I've had it once. It's not that bad.
okay. Well, I mean, there's
Well,
at a certain point, like pizza is never bad. You know what I mean? Like even
It's
shit
like
you made in the
sex.
microwave.
It's like even the bad sex still sucks.
Ask the guy how long that's been there. Usually they're pretty nice and be like, I
Yeah,
wouldn't
they'll be
eat
honest.
it.
Yeah.
Usually be like, I just put it in there. You should grab it now before it gets too old. They're pretty nice about it.
The only thing I will make an apology for is a hot dog. Like you can't fuck up a hot dog. Really.
Yeah, because it's already fucked up with everything
right.
in it.
It's just garbage. I mean, it's
You're
just
like, how are you going to
literally-
make dog shit more dog shit?
It's shit in the tube. Like they can't. Like there's no,
No, hey,
good
is this hot
dogs. There's
dog
no-
good? I mean, it's dog shit, so yeah, it's great.
It's literally the shit we scraped off the floor at the,
Yeah, exactly.
the butcher shop.
Dr. Narco Longo. Great show, dude. Thank you so much.
So good.
One more time, can you tell them where they can find you?
Well, thanks for having me, guys, and congrats on 1,000.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. Dude.
But Old World Florida on YouTube, Old World Florida pretty much everywhere else, and yeah, that's it.
All right, guys, great episode. Let's break down. And don't forget, go and vote now for who is going to be on the new Mount Crushmore. Go to Sam Tripoli's Twitter. Find Sam Tripoli, not the other ones. Find it. It's right there. It's pinned. You can vote now. We'll talk to you soon. Enjoy, and let's break down the episode. All right, what do you guys think, Dr. Narco Longo? Probably shouldn't open up asking that question.
Yeah, that was awkward.
Yeah, that was awkward. That was awkward. Probably one of my lowest moments.
But you thought it was
No, it
fixed.
wasn't that bad.
You
He
thought it
didn't
was
care.
fixed. That's the thing. You kind of were trying to like. You weren't trying to like raise
Well, I
bait.
just like both of them. I'm like, why are you guys fighting? I thought it was an interesting episode.
He's one of my favorites. He might make a late push for Crushmore.
Whoa, Johnny's starting to rig it. What do you got? Money on Kelshi?
Yeah, we should try to do that.
I'm with Johnny. If
make
you're
some
coming
money.
at the end, if you're like episode 900, if you're episode
It helps you.
550, you could be like,
Who remembers?
So you got to
that?
go down the rabbit hole, finding figure out who you really like. But I think he might have a case with this. This is good.
Yeah, dude.
And he did a great job this time because there weren't people like trying to buy books during the. Remember the last time we had him on, people kept coming in. He's like, "We're closed." It was the best.
Yeah, and that makes it because we had a late start for a bunch of reasons, but and we're very happy. I mean, that shit at the I hope you guys, if you're listening right now, you stayed to the end. That ending part was insane.
Yeah,
KFC and the KKK
Crazy.
and the fast food.
would never expect that.
And me and John, I had a good one. We were trying to tell him how in the Bible you could eat meat, and he kept throwing back
Yeah,
one
he's
and
got good-
one, and I
he's
was
reasonable.
like, "Yo,
Any part you think about becoming a vegetarian?
it sucks because technically you should. Technically, I mean, he had some points where I was like,
good
holy crap,
food.
no one ate." Huh?
It's good food. I like it, but
You found some good veggies.
I would love to be vegetarian, but
Yeah,
where am I getting my protein from?
No, it's hard, isn't it? Do you guys eat
Put
fast
that on
food?
the list of things I want to quit.
Do you guys eat
Zins,
fast food?
porn, and meat.
Do you eat fast food?
And no.
When I like here and
Like how
there.
often?
My daughters eat it all the time.
Really?
Yeah, you try to get them to eat anything else, they won't. You talk to any parent, that's just how it is,
I
dude.
try. I mean, I might eat it like once every 2 months.
I don't really like it. What do you consider fast food? A taco place?
If it's Taco Bell, it's fast food. Yeah.
No, not taco.
Del Taco.
No, but I
Something.
go to like these
like
authentic Mexican.
No, that's not fast food.
Authentic.
No,
You mean the ones on the side of the street?
No, dude. I go brick and mortar.
Those
bitch.
are the good ones. No, I'm not gonna lie. You should try the one on the streets. I know they're sketchy.
Yeah, you're just like mocking me now. You're like, but you should do it.
You
Those
should
are-
eat this rat meat taco. on the side of
Hey,
the
they're
street.
not. They are good. The ones on the side of the street.
Yeah, I'm sure they're getting totally within
Yeah,
its
I mean,
expiration
you don't
date
have to
beef,
do
too, yeah.
any
Yeah.
making sure the food is good. Like
Yeah.
that's a big problem I have. Like with all of these taco trucks or any food trucks, is they should be nowhere near a brick and mortar. They should not be allowed within 500 yards of a brick and mortar.
All right.
dude.
Yeah, they should be like pedophiles around schools. They should just.
Well, because like you're camping out in front of a brick and mortar has to do all these regulations.
No, I do agree with that. That is fucked up. You
I
shouldn't
totally
be-
agree.
But it is way better to be able to stop by a food stand that's on the side of the corner or some food truck instead of going to Jack in the Box or McDonald's, where your options at 11 or 12 o'clock is
No,
still
I'm
Goy
with you,
Slop.
but still, I'm
Goy
more
Slop.
about like all these wonderful restaurants we had forever out here are closed, and just taco trucks are everywhere. And it's like I like taco trucks, but that's really that's unfair to the people who have to have the city come in.
Yeah, I'm torn on that because a lot of the restaurants have gone into trucks because they can't afford to pay.
Do you think there should be a tax on
Rent,
having
yeah.
a food truck? Like,
Yeah. They're like, we're not going to even deal. We're not going to worry about that. Like, it's total bullshit, dude. Anyways, if you go to samtripoli.com, my dates are all there. Albuquerque, can't wait. 1,000th episode. Remember the vote, guys. You got to nominate your favorite guest. Miami. And by the time you see this, Thursday will be up on the website. I can't wait to be at Joke World, St. Petersburg, Florida, Lawrence, Kansas, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Truth or Con, dude. I gotta get that date up too. I don't know why they haven't put up. I sent to them. Truth or Con in Dallas on November 7th. And then I have Legion of Skanks at New Orleans, and then finishing out at the Mothership. Go samtripoli.com. Go samtripoli.com. Check out the all my premium content. I'm trying to do 3 a week. I've been so busy. It's been hard, but you get nothing but bangers. Go down.
Hardest working man in fucking LA.
I'm
dude.
trying,
You are.
dude. I love doing content. Just sometimes I'm over talking.
Is that shit you were telling me and Nitty about the Nephilims? Is that on your premium? You were
About
telling
the
everybody about the Nephilims being fucking a little bit of Hollywood. I don't want to. They were gay.
No,
you were telling
we were
everybody-
watching it on doom scrolling.
Okay, well, yeah. So go tell them because I was like, where'd you get this shit from? You were telling everybody at the fucking.
Well,
comedy
basically,
store,
Saint Nick is a fucking Nephilim, Santa Claus,
No
who's
shit.
gay.
Yeah, he's gay too, John.
He's a gay Nephilim.
And all these Nephilim, once they saw the star that meant Jesus is here, they basically like off themselves. Except for this one's like, I'm not gonna do it. He went and hid, and then he came out. He's like, hey, I know I was doing a lot of weird gay shit, but I'm a different guy now. So here's some gifts. They're like, okay, you got gifts, dude. We'll be cool, but none of that BFing stuff anymore. Okay?
BFing.
Dude, the keyboardist at the Comedy Store in La Jolla's, he's got that. Johnny, remember we were talking about that big dick disease?
Yeah, megalopenis.
He's got it.
Really?
His dick is so big, it took blood and he had a stroke.
It took blood?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can eat blood for your manhood.
It wasn't. The circulation was like so pitiful.
Did you ask him out, like, what's
he
the
got
size?
a clot.
I go, what? I asked his wife, Vicky Barbalak, of course, everything's got to be a joke. I'm like, how big is it? We're trying to find out here. So it's big enough to give him a stroke.
Damn.
I don't have to ever worry about stroke. Go down, Cash Daddy's Johnny. Come on, Johnny.
Yeah. How
7 away from 18.
How he had a big week this week. It was
Nothing but bangers.
Yeah, that's correct. Nothing but bangers.
I carry this show when I'm on it.
I was going to say that, actually. That was what I was
just
going to
carry
say.
it.
Yeah, if you want to see Sam carry both two grown men on his shoulders every week, check out the Cash Daddy's podcast.
I Forrest Gump it. I grab them, throw them on my shoulders, and run them out of Vietnam. Go t-shirts. Guys, the greatest t-shirt of all time, Sir Tripoli Bacon, is available. I wish I would have put it into the fucking beginning of the show to tell everybody. AAA Bacon. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Love it, dude. Only $20.
$20.
Tell me where you can get a $20 shirt. $16.
$16?
We're throwing out classics here, dude. Local celebrities. I think I might make an entire line of clothes called Local Celebrities.
Oh, like a brand?
Yeah.
I
saw somebody at Locals Only. I'm like, I should just make sweatsuits that say Local Celebrity.
Change it up a little bit, but just local celebrity all the way around.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Shut up, Johnny, you piece of shit.
What you project so much, dude. It's like you have all shitty thoughts and negative thoughts about other people, so you assume everybody else is having shitty negative thoughts about you.
You just
and
said,
it's just not the case.
Yeah, sure. In your way when you're mocking me.
You completely you couldn't have psychic couldn't have possibly misread that.
I read
I was
energy,
like, yeah,
Johnny.
that's a pretty good idea. Actually, is what I was thinking. In
All
my
right,
head.
then I owe you an apology, Johnny.
You do owe me an apology.
I'm not afraid to do it. I did it
Well, thank
before
you.
when
I
you were
welcome
right
it.
about the Iran war.
I welcome it.
Gold and
Thank you.
silver, we love you. Fucking WiseWolf, gold and silver, go samtripoli.gold. AquaCure, hydrogen brown gas. Dude, chemical free body, took it today, feeling like $1 million. Okay, I got to call Tim James back. Anything else?
Hit that like button. Go check out my podcast, XG Marks the Spot. Please, I did some Comedy Chaos Green Room video vlog.
With your
Johnny.
glasses.
There was some of the glasses
Yeah,
working
people
there.
like, is he filming?
Dude, I got Burt Crasher's. I got the best of Burt Crasher.
You got his dick
I got a shirt
in the
coming off
bathroom?
with my glasses. Dude, it was great.
This guy.
So sneaky.
Nobody meant to any felonies, you piece of shit. Johnny, anything you want to bring on?
Check out Broken Simulation. It's a podcast. We could use, some reviews. Give us some 5-star reviews.
Give us some 5
We'll follow
stars,
you on
dog.
Twitter.
Let us bang, dude.
At
If you go
Broken
Sam
Sam.
Tripoli, if you go to youtube.com/Sam Tripoli Comedy, you can see all of my crowd work specials. Now, before I say crowd work is lazy and sucks, it's just free content, guys. I just shot a written joke special. Those take more time. They take more time. I'm just out here banging. And then if you go to youtube.com/tinfoilhatofficial, dude, we're almost up to 60,000 subscribers.
We're going.
People be banging. People be banging. And then finally,
That's really good.
What?
That's really good. I'm surprised they let us do that, honestly.
What?
YouTube's gotten better. Get that many subs that fast.
Yeah, and then World War Debate. Get it. Yeah, get it. World War Debate. And the Contender Series is about to start. All right. Final thoughts, guys.
Narco, big fan.
Narco, Johnny, all you racist cousins were a part of some secret society.
No, not my people. I wish we were like elites.
Oh, so you wouldn't have to be on the show. You could be.
Well,
just
it would be
a
nice to be
politician.
like the landed gentry. as they
Governor
call it.
Johnny Woodard
Yeah, but no, my people were too-
welcomes the newest Circle K.
My people got fucking
Oh,
drafted.
Circle K.
Like,
Forgot about Circle K.
Yeah.
See, I
there
did
you
that,
go.
dude. See,
Yeah.
I
It's
did
in
that,
there.
dude. See, I
Yeah.
did
Shut
that.
up. Yeah.
I brought that up to check.
kangaroo.
Kangaroos.
Yeah.
Kangaroos are so racist.
Well, no,
against
but the
black people.
kangaroo station. Yeah.
Oh yeah. All K's. These motherfuckers are everywhere.
So with Bucky's.
Bucky's. Why?
Keys.
Go after Buc-ee's.
KKK. There it is. It's all there. I'm in on it, guys. What a great show that was. It's great. The vegetarian stuff got Johnny upset.
No, it's something I struggle with too. I really do. It's in fact now I try to only eat beef like once a week if I can, and then I eat a ton of salmon, dude. He's right about that. I don't think twice about killing a fish. Fish, you can tell fish, you look in their eyes, there's nothing that it's like to be a fish.
Yeah.
You can kind of imagine what it might be like to be a cow, like moo, grass, moo. But a fish, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing that it's like to be a fish.
Aren't you scared of like what are they? Those
heavy metals?
Heavy metals because you eat a lot of fish.
I love heavy metal. I love Metallica. I love AC/DC. I love it, dude. Heavy metals, man.
I've even thought of doing like a day once a week where I do like just
a bidet.
Yeah, a bidet. But I love a clean butthole. I
showering my butthole.
It's funny you say that because we do still have those ones from Tushy back in the day
we love
that I never
those,
unboxed.
Dude. I have a bidet, it won't work, and they're like, "Ooh, it's not technically our thing to fix."
I
It's
gotta
like,
put mine
just
in.
fix it, bro. I
do you
need
want
to
to
wash
fix it?
my beehole.
Do you like a bidet? I've never
I
had
just
one.
sit there. It's
I
like
only
Joe
use it in
Rogan's
Europe.
joke. It's like, how long can I sit here before this becomes weird?
Do you have to dry it off after that?
Yeah, I mean,
Is that how it works?
I
Or you
don't.
just
I mean,
go
I
with
just
wet
take
butt?
some toilet paper and
Just dab it a
just
little.
dab.
Interesting. Yeah. Funny.
I got wet dog ass when I'm done. All right, guys.